Welcome to What Are You Playing with your host, Derek. This is episode 13. This is the first episode of 2025. So I'm a terrible employee because I took what, three and a half months off. I'm bringing back a couple of guys I've had on the podcast a few times. Welcome, Jesse and Gaston. How you guys doing?
Hello.
Hello. Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing good, except for that shirt, beer man. Gross, bro. Come on, not a good start here.
I think it's pretty epic.
Yeah. We all know I'm the one of the few people in the world that thinks beer is disgusting. All
But
right,
you must say it's like Batman. So
I do like the logo. That is very it's very well done. All right, so it's been a while since I've talked games, it's been a while since I've done a podcast, and there's a bunch of stuff we could cover, but I kind of want to just, instead of going back and looking at 2024 and going over game of the years and stuff like that, I might do that in a later podcast. This one I want to talk about, well, let's do our show, and that's what are we playing. I want to talk about games we're currently playing, but I wanted to have you two on because I wanted to discuss one of the newer releases that came out that all three of us were, I would say, semi to really hyped. I would say more really hyped for, and that's Avowed. But before we jump into Avowed, and we will discuss that, let's talk about the game that is overrated trash that I just finished last week. I don't even know if it was last week. It may have been like 3 or 4 days ago because I was prepping for the new one. And I have this weird thing about me where I can do it, but I prefer not to play a sequel if I haven't beaten the previous games. Even if they're not tied together, if they're just in the same universe and I think I can beat it. Now, if it's a long RPG that takes like 80 hours, I have to get over it and I'll be like, no, I'm not doing it. But for the most part, if it's like a shooter or a story-driven game or something like that, I like to beat the games that came out previous. So one of the games that was on my backlist or backlog that really bothered me was Doom Eternal.
Oh boy.
I have honestly started this game 4 times. So I've done the intro and chapter 1 and 2, and I'm not exaggerating, 4 different times. This time, I don't know why I stuck with it, but I did, and then I ended up going all the way through the campaign on my PS5 Pro. I will talk about my impressions first, but I know you two have both beaten the game, so let's talk Doom Eternal. Why is it trash and why is it overrated? That's the only correct way to ask that question.
I'll let you go first, Gaston.
Okay, so first of all, you're wrong. It's one of the best first-person shooter ever made.
All right,
It's
explain to me
fantastic.
why you're wrong
Uh,
for saying that statement.
Okay, so in Doom Eternal, they introduce the way they call it rock, paper, scissors, where you have the flame belt, you have the ice bomb, you have the chainsaw, and fuck, what was the other thing I'm missing? Oh yeah, you gun shooter. I forgot about that. And the way they want you, like flaming, you get armor, chainsaw, you get ammo, and then you gun your way to enemy. You also get to gut punch enemies with glory kills, so it give you health. So basically, they want you to always have that in mind because the game is technically harder than the first one, 2016.
Yes.
So you're always in the head thinking, hey, I gotta get ammo. Hey, I gotta get armor. Hey, I gotta do this. So you're always thinking when to do it right, when to do it wrong. It kind of like a dance of death, I call it. And that would get a little bit more exciting because once you start learning each enemies, you start looking what their weakness, you start looking what they like. Oh, use this weapon instead of this one. You start seeing the combos and how it connects everything. You're gonna start slowly and slowly going through these, let's say, these ballet of dancings as you tore down everyone on your path. The one complaint I keep people saying that, oh, the platforming, which I know you two hate it. You hate jumping for some reason. And for
Well,
me, like,
okay.
It's more than just jumping.
Yeah, I can handle jumping. it wasn't as bad this fourth time around, but I think that's because like I knew it was already annoying, so like I had already been like, okay, you have to do it. I will say this now that I've beaten the game, there wasn't as much in it as I had put in my brain there
Gee,
was because of
I
how
I
annoying it
wonder.
was. Because
I
I got
wonder.
stuck on a couple levels early on. um, I started playing this on PC, and I remember getting stuck. I think it's chapter 2 or 3. There's like this area, and I was like, I can't figure out where I'm supposed to go, and I kept dying. And I could have looked it up, but I think at that point I was like, I don't even want to play this. This is stupid. And here's the thing that I said over and over, and I even said it. Well, I said it a gazillion times while I was playing it now. First of all, I was yelling a lot. I love hard games. From soft games are my favorite. I love anything that's difficult like that. But when I'm playing Doom, it's not that I'm anti difficulty, it's the way the difficulty was done. I found myself yelling at this game all the time and just saying, all I want to do is shoot things. I don't want to have to figure out where I'm going by jumping and dying and going, oh, I did it wrong. Let me try it again. And some of the platforming areas were stupid and annoying, and they would start you all the way over when you died, and it was trial and error. It wasn't like you could just look at the scenery and go, oh, I got to jump there, then jump there, then jump there. It was jump, and then you didn't know where the little portal was going to take you, and you're like, well, where am it's all in real time, like, well, where am I going, and then you die, and then you have to figure it out, or you have to watch a video. So that's where I found the game to be the most frustrating, is not just the platforming. Yes, it was annoying, less annoying this time around, but still annoying. It's the whole system, the way the game was built was like, I just want to listen to new metal music while I'm blasting demons, and I don't want to have to. There were several enemies where I was fighting where I ran out of ammo and there was no little no, either there would be no little enemies, or there would be no gas for me to get the chainsaw to where I could get ammo. And I was like, this is so dumb. This is so
And that,
dumb because I made
and
a
that,
mistake,
that,
which it is my mistake. I now
there
have to
you
run
go.
around for no reason.
It's all about the calculation. You have to think
No,
well. You have to research your
no,
way, and that would
dumb,
make it exciting.
Yeah,
No,
and
dumb.
but I just
That's
I
that's
like
where
I
dark.
that's where
That's
it
like
I,
breaks
I
from
dark.
what Doom is. That's not what
That's
Doom
like Dark
is.
Souls going, hey, we're gonna have parts of the game that are gonna be like Devil May Cry. So you gotta think faster and you gotta go faster. No, like I want to play the games that they are, and Doom is predominantly a first person metal shooter. It does it really good. And I get what they're trying to do, but there are times when you have to acknowledge you tried to change things for the sake of changing things. I cannot say subjectively. I'm going to say it subjectively because it's my opinion. You did it better. I think you did it more annoying. Now, I'm hoping the new game, which I've heard, I haven't done any research on it because I had close to zero hype for it because of Doom Eternal. But the new one, I'm definitely way more hyped now that I'm done with Doom Eternal. But I'm gonna be only more hyped if it's more like 2016. If it's more like Doom Eternal, which I've heard it's not, and there's a reason why I'm hearing it's not, because a lot of people were like me and Jesse were like, yeah, Doom Eternal's not terrible. Nobody's gonna say it's terrible unless you just hate video games, but they went backwards. They didn't make it better than 2016. They made it worse. Sure, there's going to be some outliers. It might be you, Gaston. Jesse was saying Rudy really loves the game. Rudy comes on my show all the time. I like Rudy, but there are times where Rudy is wrong. And if he
there,
likes Doom
there
Eternal more than Doom
I,
2016, he's definitely wrong,
I
in
got
my
a
opinion.
question because
Yeah.
you said you're hyped for the Dark Age. Yeah, you didn't do any research. What what made you like already say like, okay, I'm excited. Is
No, I
that
said
last?
I wasn't excited until I
Oh,
beat
okay.
Doom Eternal, and then Rob told me in my chat it's more like 2016 and less
Yeah,
like Eternal, and I said good because I had no hype for it until now. Now, where is my hype coming from? If I had to score it, I'm gonna score it higher than I actually felt about it. Here's what I mean by that. I was really angry when I played this game a lot. In fact, my daughter, who lives with me full time, at one point one day she said, "Dad, I was afraid to talk to you because you were calling everybody lesbians and faggots." And I was very angry. And I was like, this stupid effing game is so dumb. Like that's what I say this on all the podcasts. I always talk to myself. I'm like, this is so dumb. This is the dumbest game ever. Why are you dumb? And that's what I kept saying about this game. It was so infuriating in some of the levels. So my hype level was lower because of that, and my review score based off feelings a lot of times would have been a 6 or a 7. The reason I bumped it to an 8 is because I try to be objective and take my feelings out of everything and go, it's still a good game. Like just because you suck at it, and I'll admit I suck at it because the
Hey,
level I hate the most, which you said is peak Gaston, which means you suck even more. I'm
no,
forgetting the name. It's something
Tara
Terran
Navas.
Nabas or whatever.
Navas.
Nabas. That level,
Oh,
all it is just hordes and hordes and hordes of enemies over and over and over, unless you can find this little like cross that you have to destroy to stop them from coming, which at the time when I first started, I didn't know that's what I was doing. So I was just killing and
no,
killing and
uh,
dying and dying and dying, and it was
no,
infuriating.
actually, the archdemon, he's the one that summoned the demons. You have to kill him.
Yeah, you have to kill him, but I think there was also maybe it's later in the level. You also have to kill like this cross. You have to find the cross and kill it. Otherwise, it
The cross,
keeps
the
them
cross,
powerful or something.
yeah, the cross is that make them buff. The archdemon is the one that summons. The
Yes,
Tower of Love is peak level because it's basically that. You all bitch. Oh, the pacing kind of weird. I sure want to kill them. There you go. Here's the level where you should kill them all, and all that you
it
learn
was
is
too
this.
many enemies. Too many enemies.
Especially when you
this-
have to target weak points and things like that. Where 2016, all
Combined
you have
with
to do is just shoot them.
combined
Just
with
shoot them.
combined with low ammo.
Right.
There's here's what we haven't talked about. We talked about the systems, but and this is again, this is subjective, but this is my opinion. Too many systems for a super fast game that you can die really fast in. So if you're playing on normal, hard, or anything like that, you're gonna die really fast. And what I mean by there's too many systems is you're going, hey, while you play this, you got to be aware of your ammo, you got to be aware of your health, obviously, you got to be aware of the enemies, you got to be aware of your armor, you got to be aware of all of these, your ammo, all of these things, while everything is swarming on you, and that was infuriating. And sometimes I get frustrated with games where it's I can see, and this is why I like Souls games because they rarely do this. Souls games are more they're not about throwing 20 enemies on a map and swarming you. They're more about one or two, and they're just really hard. So it's just you and them, 1v1 a lot of times. Sometimes again, a second or a third will come in the picture. But it's usually 1v1. You know who your enemy is, and you've got to figure out the strategy to beat them. This game did this multiple times where it was like, hey, I spotted this difficult enemy. I need to get over there and kill this one. There's a bunch of little mini enemies, blah, blah, blah. As I'm trying to get to this enemy, another 5 difficult enemies just appear. And they're behind me, to my left, to my right. And so I'm focused on this one. I'm a man, and anybody knows anything about men usually focus on one thing at a time. Women focus on 50 different things. So I would assume women would be better at Doom than men. I'm just putting that out there.
You
But
calling me a what the fuck?
you definitely have a vagina. Um,
They did that
so
in 2016, though. Also, they would swarm
yeah.
you with enemies in
Well, I mean,
2016.
I'm just telling you what I don't like about these type of games. This is why I struggle with them. It's not just Doom Eternal did this and no other shooter does it. Call of Duty does it too. Like they don't have demons appearing, but it's like, dude, I was just over there, nobody was shooting me. Now I'm getting shot and I'm dead. And again, it's more annoying when it happens quick. So that's what was happening a lot in this game. It was like I was dying and I was unaware why I was dying because these enemies weren't there. Now they're there and they're like super powerful, super aggressive too. These aren't like enemies that are like, oh, hey, dude, we're over here. You might want to kill us. They're on top of you, humping you and beating you
Even on
down.
like the easiest difficulty.
Yes. I bumped it down to easy when I got later in the game and I was getting really pissed. And even on that Terra Nabad, whatever, that was on easy. And I was getting swarmed and dying left and right. And I was like, I don't understand. This is easy. That was the other thing I was saying to this game. On easy, I should just be able to stand
Yeah.
there.
It
And
should be easy.
you guys should just be like, I'm not gonna hurt you. This game's like, no, easy's like hard, normal's like ridiculous, hard's like, why are you playing on this? You're dumb. And extreme difficulty is for just terrible
Like
people who have
I,
no
I beat
lives.
2016 on ultra violence, and I can barely beat this game on easy.
Yeah, it's way more aggressive. And like I said earlier, so many systems for such a quick paced game. If you're a quick
For
thinker,
me,
of course, yeah. But for
for
me,
me, it was a
no.
lot of having to target those weak points because I'd have to stop to be able to shoot them. And if you stop in that game, you're dead.
Yeah. Plus,
You
the enemy I found really annoying was he was a super powerful enemy who had a big shield, and so he would block everything, and you would
Yes,
only move the shield for a
the
little bit.
Marauder or whatever it
Yeah, and I
is.
was having trouble getting past the shield. I would run out of ammo. I would run out of gas for my
Yeah, that
chainsaw.
dude is
So,
obnoxious.
I,
so I was like,
which
this is such a dumb
the
fight. It's such a dumb
I'm
fight.
I'm curious which one of the shields
It's the
the knight.
Marauder, I think.
Yeah,
The
you
one that's
fight
like
him a lot.
floating and has a shield and
Yeah, because there's a whole they're like the zombie with a shield, so I'm getting confused.
Yeah,
The I can't agree on the Marauders back when it was launched the year that it came out. That yeah, they were kind of fuck up.
there's
But the more that I beat the game, like I beat it like 7 times, it was
you're
the time I
an
realized
idiot.
you guys, fuck you. You guys are such punks. You got them. Uh,
I beat it like 7 times. I hate
I,
you. You're an
okay,
idiot.
I do want to tell you, it's for the Dark Age. They basically listen to you guys, so you guys are winning. You're like, all right, we toned him down in more of a tank. You're not a jet anymore. The
Hmm.
system, like you were saying, like the systems, they basically also toned down that, so like more of just stand and fight, focus on that. There till
I didn't
some
mind the having to move around all the time.
Oh,
That
uh,
didn't
moving's
bother
good.
me. Yeah.
I
no, the
move
most
in 2016. In 2016, I want to say this. After I got semi good, because when you keep playing the game and you're trying to beat the game, even on easy, you have to get pretty good at like managing all those systems and moving and shooting and all that stuff. So I got in the rhythm, and then I went from Doom Eternal to 2016, and 2016 felt slow. I was like, holy crap, Eternal is really fast, like
I
really
know,
fast.
but no, I say 10 and 5, but that's how they say it. They say like 16 is um run and gun, eternal jump and gun. Here is stand and gun due to the shield you have now. The shield like your new chainsaw that gonna be helping you a lot.
Mm,
And one thing that make me happy, they put the difficulty slider. So for you guys, you have enemy less aggressive, you have enemy more aggressive, you can have the combat more speed up, slower. So they kind of put these sliders. So like, oh, you can put a standard difficulty, but you can modify a little.
yeah.
So they give you more option to you guys. So you're like, all right, you want it in more like 2016, you got it. I want more faster, I can get the option of going more faster.
Okay.
And I jump like a jet, so that's something I cannot do anymore.
I mean, I'll try it at like regular just to see how it is, see if I like it like I
Yeah.
liked 2016. But we'll see, and then I'll make adjustments. I honestly don't like making adjustments. Like I rarely change things in games. I normally just play it as it is. Um, but
That
if
way they
it's a
give you the
game like that
option.
where it's getting frustrating, I'm like, okay, I'm just changing this. This is stupid.
That way they still give you the option of, hey, you should want the easy difficulty. You could click easy, normal, hard. The slider should like an extra option you want to do.
Yeah. Okay. So we all agree that I'm right. Doom Eternal is
Uh,
overrated trash.
No,
Gaston
after
has
that,
I
terrible taste.
agree.
Gaston, the fact that you beat this game 7 times, I should ban your ass
That game's a little
eternally.
try hard.
one of them was on the Switch, on the Nintendo Switch.
Why would you play that on the Switch?
Why not? Why not?
Oh my gosh. Where did you beat it the other 6 times?
2 time, no, 3 time on the PS4 and 3 time on the PS5.
Okay. All right.
But the
I would
DLC.
imagine that game would actually be best on PC.
It is.
Oh,
It runs. I mean, obviously, PCs vary. Mine's high end. Mine, I can get like everything maxed out. I can get like 200 frames per second. Like it's actually legit nuts.
Plus, keyboard and mouse is way more precise than controller.
Yeah,
With
if you're
aiming
good
and
at
shooting.
yeah, if you're good at keyboard and mouse, I'm not. I mean, I could get good. I just don't like it. I don't like how this feels while I'm playing. Like my hand starts to freak out and it gets weird, and I'm like, I
You
just
need one
need
of those
control.
big ergonomic ones.
Yeah, I don't think that would do it. I think it's just being creeped out like doing this. So, all right, enough Doom Eternal talk. We'll talk the Dark Ages when it comes out. I'll probably have you two guys come back on because I think in the group y'all are probably the biggest Doom fans. So,
yes.
it'll be good to chat on that. Let's move on to, I don't know, Jesse, if you played this, but I know Gaston and I played it. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which was like a surprise launch. Did you play it at all, Jesse?
I played the first couple levels. I haven't beat it or anything, but I have dabbled in it.
Okay. Are you two, so both you can answer this. Do you guys have a history in Ninja Gaiden games?
Yes.
Do you like them? What's your thoughts?
All the way back to the original games.
Okay.
Yeah,
Have you beat any of them before?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I actually beat Ninja Gaiden Black back when it was on the original Xbox.
Okay, OG. That one, good lord, that was before my Souls times.
Yeah, that was back when I was actually good at video games.
Yeah, I was god awful because I was like, what is this game? Because that to me is like, maybe there's other games before it, but that game was almost like the OG Souls type game, meaning when you run into the first boss and you're used to playing games back then, it was like just punch, punch, kick, 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 just be offensive. And that game's like, no, I'm gonna rip you to shreds if you try to do that. You have to block, you have to dodge, you have to be defensive. And this game's no different. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, pretty freaking difficult game as well. Did you finish it, Gaston?
I'm at the end. No, I do want to say, like, I played the first one on Series X since it's backward compatible. I
Mm-hmm.
made the first boss and he kicked my ass. I'm like, oh,
Okay.
oh fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
I can't beat
It's
it.
not a forgiving game at all.
No, it is not
No,
in any way.
And I don't think, y'all guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the original release had like difficulty slider. Now in the remastered, you can put it on easy, but like back in the day, like I said, it was almost like a Souls game.
Was. Yeah, it just was what it was.
You play it as is. If you can't beat the bosses, you're done. They don't care. They're not gonna make it easier to make you happy. So that's,
you got a bitch about it.
I liked the Ninja Gaiden games. I always bought them all, but it was like how I was before Souls games, before I got good at them. I used to buy them and then I sucked at them and I would just quit. So it was like pointless of me to buy them, but it was my hope that one day I would get good at them. I did beat this one, but I put it on easy. I could have probably tried it on normal, but I'll tell you why I didn't bother. Biggest thing is I hate the camera. I was fighting the camera more than the enemies a lot of times. I was like, this is so dumb. Like I can't see them. This is very old school. You can't see them when you walk into a new area and they'll just attack you right away. And when they attack you, they do some serious damage. So I ended up beating it. I had fun the first half. The second half, I started going, I just want to get this done. This is just to check it off that I did it. I don't even care anymore. It's not fun. It doesn't have a story I care about. The boss fights are cool as far as like how cool they look, their attacks, that type of stuff. The boss fights are fun. the actual levels and the enemies on the levels were where I found it to be most annoying. What was your thoughts, Gaston? I know you're towards the end.
I This is the first time I ever like fully played Ninja Gaiden. So I should know that we're like, oh, do the hard game, do it before Soul. Be ready. So I'm like, I'm a little nervous, but I saw the option for easy, so I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And I'm already at the end and I'm still enjoying it. I'm not having like that same feeling of like you would halfway you like kind of want to be done. I'm still in. The thing that pissed me off, and they're gonna be sound weird, but I hate playing with the women. I hate playing with the girls so badly. Not because they're
Sexist.
bad.
Sexist.
No, no. It's because I am agreeing the fuck out of Ryu with the upgrades. I got some
No,
cool
I felt the same way. There was a few
and,
special characters that were
and, then,
okay,
and
but
then
I'm
they
using one character and leveling him up. That's who I want to use. I don't want to use 17 different other people that I'm not leveling up.
yeah. So then they force you to play as one woman that has a staff and a bow. I'm like, what the fuck? Can I get my other weapon? What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
And if they there are three, I think, so far. So far there are three.
I want to
The
say there's
oth-
4 in the whole game, but maybe it's 3.
yeah, it should make no sense, but you're going back to like a level that you already been with Ryu, just to kill some random villain. You're like, why? You should extending the story for no reason.
Yeah.
So I should rather be with Ryu. I don't even care what's going on with the plot. I don't even know what's going on, but I should love the weapon that he has, the claws, the nunchuck blades. Like I
Yeah.
should weapons and upgrade them.
I think the
It,
staff is what I use the most. I like the staff.
I use the claws, which you have like the blades on your legs and arm. And I'm just like, yeah, fuck this. I'm all in. What I
Yeah.
love a lot the villains, as you mentioned, the bosses.
Mhm.
They're so well designed and comical in a way. They're like the cartoony 90 villain for me. I love how they just arrogant. They don't give a fuck, and then they die horrible.
Yeah.
So I'm all in, and I'm kind of hyped for four now. Like I kind of want to play four when it comes out.
Yeah, I want to go back to I'm gonna buy I have the collection on PS4, but I don't want to play it on there. I'm gonna wait for it to go on sale on Steam and buy the collection, and then I'm probably gonna try to since I beat 2, I'm probably just gonna try to beat 1 and 3. 3
It's
is the
on Game
easiest.
Pass too, isn't it?
Yeah. So actually, I can play them on PC because they're
Yeah.
on Game Pass. Um, so I'll probably do that at some point. Not now, but I do want to beat 1 and 3. 3, actually, I remember having fun with it when it came out at launch because it was the easiest one. That's when they started being more modern. The first 2, they were like, we don't care. Play our game
I
as
really think
is.
the first one is the hardest.
Yeah.
It wasn't three the worst for fans? Like didn't they hate that one the
Yeah.
Yes.
most?
3 got hated on
Uh,
the most.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, overall, I gave it a 7. I didn't give it too low, but I also didn't give it real high. I just found the camera to be annoying, which kind of turned me off to the rest of the game. And then the stories. In those type of games, they never really put an emphasis on the story. Like the Devil May Cry games, they all have stories, but it's almost like, hey, if you're gonna have quick, fun, amazing combat, have a terrible story. I don't understand why nobody can just write a good story that characters that you care about. But it's almost like that's part of the genre is to always be over the top, cheesy, gory, and stupid. Even like Bayonetta has probably the coolest story of all of them, but all the characters are still over the top, cheesy, and stupid like all the other ones. Nobody
Yeah.
has like a serious, toned story where it's
All those
actually
games
good.
are all about the combat,
It's all
the
about
gameplay.
flashy,
Yeah.
yeah.
we
So
consider God of War, the original God of War as better stories.
the original God of War,
Yeah, like
I
one,
would
two,
say that
three.
they do actually have better
they're
stories.
definitely more serious, but they still are. They had that tone of like the over the top, and that's Jaffe. Like if you know Jaffe at all, Jaffe's just an over the top personality. And so he wrote all his games that way. Twisted Metal, God of War. So God of War still has it, but yes, it's definitely more serious tone, especially since Kratos is actually dead serious the entire time, but not everybody around him is. But yeah, that I would
They're a
say
bit
that
more
would probably be
coherent too, I think.
oh yeah. I think they have better they would be the maybe the exception to what I was saying earlier, where it's like they're a trilogy that made sense and had like this cohesive story with a main serious character. It was overall more mature and more serious, but still a little over the top. With some of the like what was it, the sex games and stuff like that you could do that got him in trouble, all that things, all those times, and the over the top violence at that time that was kind of a big deal. All right, let's move on. Let's talk. We're going to talk to some other games that you guys are playing, but let's get to the main game of the show because I want to talk about it the most. Before we jump into like what's your impressions of the game and stuff like that, what was your hype level if you had to gauge it from 1 to 10 for Avowed? And what's your history with Pillars of Eternity? Do you have any history at all? Do you care to have a history? What's your thoughts on those games as well? Let's start with you, Jesse, and then we'll go to Gaston.
So on a scale from 1 to 10, I was probably at like an 8
Okay.
hype for this game. A lot of that hype was because I played the Pillars 1 and 2 games. They're awesome. That isometric kind of like Baldur's Gate style,
Mm-hmm.
classic CRPG style kind of game. Beat them both. Pillars 2 is probably one of my favorite CRPGs that I've ever played. So going into this, I was hyped because I love that world. I love the world of Aora with the gods and all these different species and the politics and
Mm-hmm.
all the magic and everything. And I was curious to see how that would play in this new kind of play style.
Okay. I won't go any further than that. We'll get your impressions in a second, but an 8, that's solid. Gaston, what was your hype level going into this game, and do you have any history with Pillars of Eternity?
All right, so hype level, I was a 9. I
9.
am a huge fan of Obsidian. Fallout New Vegas is one of my favorite games. I love the Outer World. I thought it was fantastic. I managed to play a bit of South Park to Take It Through, another fantastic thing. And yeah, when it comes to RPG, I should think of them like Obsidian. I'm excited for them. If they're gonna do a new one, I'm in.
Yeah.
Easy there. The reason it's a 9 is because yes, I did not play Pillar. I have no knowledge of Pillar. I know nothing what happens in that games. I did download them on Xbox to play them later, so I am open to trying them.
They're pretty good. I like CRPGs more now, and I started both of them. I've gotten further in the first one than in the second one. The second one, you can definitely see the improvements
Yeah,
over
2
the
is
first one.
definitely better.
It's definitely better. But it is slower paced. They're hard to get into, like for me, because I buy a lot of games. Um, but the world, I like what I like about CRPGs, and this is why I love Gates 3. I like that your choices matter, and you even see it in the first 2 games of Pillars of Eternity. They set you up with these choices, and I played the intro of the first one twice. I played it once on the PS4 and then I played on Xbox, I think. Um, and my outcomes were completely different right in the beginning with some of the characters. So stuff like that, I love that. That's probably, besides combat, that's probably my favorite thing in games. So that's probably why I'm drawn to BioWare RPGs, Obsidian RPGs. I like when you say, here's multiple things that outcomes that could happen based off your choices. What are you going to
Yeah,
do? And you don't know what's good, bad, or positive or neutral. You think you know, but sometimes that's not the outcome. So I like that. So far, I would say this: Avowed, for me, I probably was more like Gaston, even though I have a little bit of knowledge of Pillars of Eternity. Like, I know what the world is about. I have some of the context. I'm not completely ignorant of everything. I was more hyped because it was Obsidian. And it was, I looked at it more. I know everybody was saying Skyrim. I don't like Skyrim, so that doesn't hype me. I was
And
looking
it's
at it.
not like Skyrim.
No, I was looking at
No,
it as it's a melee version of the Outer Worlds. It's the same type of
very
setup. It's just melee and magic. So I was more hyped because it's basically their version of Dragon Age, in my opinion. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that. Um, so that's probably where I would fall into probably a 9, like Gaston, as far as hype level, because I was excited for the combat. I was excited for the choices. I was also, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but as I'm playing it, and now we'll start to dive into the game and your impressions on it. As I was playing it, I was like, man, with the music and the exploration and the art style and stuff like that, I feel like I'm playing like an open area Fable game. I was like, this feels like Fable. The only difference is Fable is definitely silly. This is not silly. So I'm talking about art direction, the music, just the vibe I got when I was out in the world playing.
colors.
Yeah. Even the combat, like if I had to take what Fable was and what I think it would be 15 years later, this kind of looks like what I could imagine the new Fable being. It's very similar to as far as combat. They have a lot of similarities. Um, so as far as hype, it was a 9. As far as what I like now, I'll just share real quick. I'm not going to go into details, but I'll just share off the top my impressions. I'm probably 15 hours in, even though the Xbox app says I think I'm over 20. I think I'm 14, 15 hours into the actual game. I also had a bug where I lost 2 hours of it, so maybe I'm 17 hours in. I don't know. But I like the combat way, way, way more than I thought. But I have a huge negative with the combat, and that is the game system is built off of like getting the best loot, getting the best equipment, upgrading it, all that stuff, so you can face tougher enemies. But it feels like as you transition from area to area, it's like everything that you built up on and you took forever to get to finally where I'm semi OP, the very next area you are
Yeah,
completely pointless, and it's like, no, you got to start over from scratch. It doesn't feel organic. It feels like you're going from level 1 to level 2, but you still have level 1 stuff that even if you have the highest level 1, the lowest level 2 is not only going to destroy you, it's going to, or beat you, it's going to absolutely obliterate you. So some of the enemies I run into, I'm like, this is so dumb, man. I have no shot. Like, I'm not doing anything to these guys, and it's all organic. I'm not going outside of where I'm supposed to be and exploring. It's some of this is me just walking to the next mission, and I'm facing guys who are 3 skulls when I'm 1 skull or whatever. So that's like my biggest problem with the combat is that, but I like the combat. I love the world. I like the graphics. I like the art direction. My biggest negative, besides what I just listed off there, as far as progression and leveling up your character and all that, is um, I'm just not into the story, and I don't feel like I've reached any choices that I was like, oh, this is significant. I feel like every companion is bland. I just got the black girl in the second area, and I'm like, I don't care about your story. Like, I don't care about you. Um, I don't care about any of the characters. The only reason I kind of like Kai is because I'm like, oh, you're Garrus. I have to like you. It's impossible not to like you. Even if you're not saying anything I care about, your voice makes me go, I like you. Other than that, I don't like the other 2 companions at all. Um, and the story, I'm not invested in at all. So that's my quick impressions. What what are your positives and negatives? Did it live up? So Jesse gave it an 8, Gaston gave it a 9 as far as hype level. Did it live up to your hype level? Did it exceed? Did it underwhelm? Where are you with where that? You can start it, Jesse.
My impressions are a really mixed bag, to be honest. Um, when I compare it to previous Obsidian games, I think it's probably one of their worst games.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the Outer Worlds, if you wanted to, you could go into that first village and kill everybody if you
Yeah, I
wanted to.
did. I
Yeah.
did. I did. I just played Outer Worlds a second time. It's one of the games I beat this year. I literally killed everybody. Every
Yeah.
location, I would get attacked where I go because everybody hates me because I was just killing everybody.
Yeah, and that impacts the story in the world that you're
Mm-hmm.
playing in. Where with this game, everybody's invincible and there's
Mm-hmm.
no crime system. So you could just go around looting people's houses, do whatever the heck you want, and there's no consequences to it. And also,
Yeah.
one of my biggest gripes with the combat specifically is that it is incredibly easy to cheese this game because if you go just slightly outside of their aggro area,
Mm-hmm.
they'll run at you and then run away, and then run at you and then run away, and you can just destroy them without even getting hit.
Yeah.
Basically,
What are you maining as far as your weapons? Like, what's your weapon setup?
Mage. I'm full on mage.
So that makes it even easier because if they turn and run away from you, you don't even have to get close to them. You just kind
No,
of
I just
shoot.
keep firing and shooting
Yeah.
at them. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Gaston, any? Oh, sorry, Justin, keep
but
going.
I do want to say a couple positives though. You said you're not interested in the story. I have to admit that I actually am kind of interested in where the story is going, but I think part of that is because I'm invested in the Pillars universe.
Mm-hmm.
So them introducing a new god for the living lands that has some sort of, to my understanding, still, or at least where I'm at in the game, still a mysterious history with the other gods.
Mm-hmm.
I am invested in knowing what that looks like, how that all plays out, especially where they're like talking to you, and I don't know what their real motives are. So,
Yeah, that felt like Baldur's Gate 3, where I'm forgetting what the character
Emperor,
is. Yeah, there's a character that in Baldur's Gate 3, if you take like a nap, they always are talking to you, and you don't know, are they manipulating you? Or same thing here. One thing I do like, because I'm not paying attention to the story that much, every time I go to the camp, this person wants to talk to me or this god wants to talk to me. And they literally give you the option of, oh my God, are you always going to talk to me? And so I pick
Yeah,
that one. I'm like, can you just
yeah.
stop talking? I don't care what you have to say, especially since you're just saying a lot of nonsense most of the time, anyways. So I'm like, just stop talking to me. I want to sleep and then I want to get up and kill animals or kill bears and fungus.
I, I do wish the enemy variety was a bit more. The
Yeah.
sheer volume of mushroom people and bears that I fought is
Tree,
kind of insane.
tree branch people,
Mushroom people and
mushrooms,
bears.
and bears are all I really see.
But yeah, that's my
Gaston,
impressions. Overall, it's a really mixed bag. I do still really enjoy the world. I think the Living Lands is an interesting area to explore, and there's a
yeah,
lot of
I
mysteries.
do like the exploration. Like
Yeah,
you get rewarded if you go and off the beaten path and you find like a cave. Like there's been I think this was like maybe it was supposed to be a side quest or something like that, but I just went and explored. I went and found a cave. I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought I was going into a cave. I ended up coming to a place where these people were like, "Hey, I think it's the Steel Gazette or something like
Bill
that." Or
Baroque.
yeah, and they're like, I don't think you want to mess with them." And I was like, "No, there's a bunch of loot here. I want to kill them." So I kill them and I take all the loot. It's a pretty big cave. It wasn't like just some RPGs. It's like side area is literally you walk in and it's just one like area. This is like there was a ton of like little caves, little areas, little rooms to explore. So I finished doing that, and then I go to the main quest for the second area, and those people were going to attack the city that I was visiting, and I ended up able to tell them, well, hey, you didn't deal with as much of an attack. They didn't have as much reinforcement because I wiped out the guys hidden in the cave
Yeah.
that were going to come and attack you. So it ended up working. My aggressive behavior ended up working in my favor because I was able to be like, hey, you didn't take as much damage because I had already done something. Now, I don't know if that really alters the outcome if you didn't do that. I don't know. But
I think it
overall,
does.
yeah,
It
I
does.
do like
I
that it
think
was there.
I would confirm that definitely in my playthrough, the city falls. I didn't even know. I was like, what happened?
Okay, so that's a significant, or seems like it's a significant one. It could be, I don't know. Again, it could be like the Dragon Age. I'm gonna spoil a little bit of the Dragon Age, fail guard. But there's
Don't
I
care.
would say the biggest choice in the game, and it's so dumb, is like two dragons attack two different cities, and so you have to pick which companion you're gonna help their city. And it was like set up as this significant choice because obviously the companion you help, you're going to save their city. The companion you don't, there's going to be significant damage and should be ramifications. No, it was just like, hey, I'm kind of mad at you. And I was like, okay. And then as I kept playing the game, they became less and less mad, but they would just make like a passive aggressive comment. And I was like, dude, this is not Dragon Age. Like, somebody should have died, or somebody should have left my party, or something should have happened. This is stupid. So I don't know if you get that with this, like, hey, the city falls and this person leaves you or whatever. That's the stuff I feel like, even from reviews I watched, I didn't watch many, but the ones I watched, they were like, none of your choices really matter. And I was like, God, Dragon Age again. Why? Why can't we make an RPG where it's like your choices matter? So
I
that's
did
a little disappointing.
I did see there's an achievement that is like they say all your party abandoned you. So I'm
Okay.
curious what that means.
I
I
wonder how
don't know
you
what
get that to happen. I wonder if
yeah,
it's just one choice at the end, like where you're like,
no.
I hate you all, I'm gonna shoot you. Okay, we're leaving you. Like if it's something stupid like that, or if you actually have to do like bad things, which would be pretty cool. So before I move to Gaston, Jesse, you said it was an 8. I know you haven't beaten the game, but you've played a lot. Did
I've
it
put
live up
about
to your 8, or is it lower, higher? Like did it meet your expectation, your hype level at all?
so I'm in the third area now, and I've put about 50 hours into the game according to my save file
Mm-hmm.
uh, timestamp. I would say it's probably I'd put it at about a 7.5 right now. There
Okay, so it's a
are
little under.
Yeah, there are things that I do genuinely like about it, but there's too many things that annoy me about it also.
Yeah, I get that. Okay. Gaston, you said 9. So what are your impressions? What are your positives and negatives? And then end it with, is it lived up to your hype or are you disappointed? Also, tell us how
So
far you are. How many hours are you in and where are you without
might
spoiling?
say might say almost 2 days because I've been exploring a lot. I am in the third section of the world,
Okay.
but I'm almost done. I'm almost done with that section. All I would say is
Is there only 3
may-
areas in this game?
no, I think there's five in
I
total.
think there's
Oh,
five, yeah.
wow. Okay. Good Lord. I'm only in the second one. Oh, jeez Louise. Okay.
I think this, if I'm talking about Obsidian RPGs, like the Bethesda style per
Mm-hmm.
person, they're the weakest one. This is easily the weakest one because the first thing I thought when I got in that town was, oh, New Vegas, I can side with the bandit, take over the town. In
Mm-hmm.
the outer world, I can kill the guy who owned this city right in front while he's having a meeting. Like, hey, hello, boom, okay, goodbye. this town, no, nothing happened. You should come meet Kai and move off. Like, all right, go fuck yourself. You're gonna get an arrow in your chest, so don't worry about it.
It's very linear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very. And then what I found out because the game apparently was a multiplayer game, so that way I see everyone should stand still. I'm like, huh, you're acting like you're in Destiny for some reason. I wonder why. What the
Yeah.
fuck you guys doing?
I
Standing still.
think this is conspiracy theory, but this is just me. This is what I think happened. I think this game and Dragon Age both, it's been reported, so it's no secret that both of them were supposed to be co-op multiplayer games, and they're like, we scratched it. Bullshit. You just took what you were doing and you made it more linear and wiped out the multiplayer, but the actual design is still freaking Destiny. All of the
Yeah,
game, and it's very linear. Both games are, they're not these open, I'm not talking about the world, but like choices. There is no impact. It's very Destiny in telling the story. It's very linear. The systems are very co-op centric, looter shooter base. Like, hey, the main thing we want to hook you on is go get the best loot and the combat's fun. And don't get me wrong, I want that to be good, but that shouldn't be the biggest draw in an Obsidian RPG. It should be the story, the characters, and your choices that you make throughout that game. I feel like both those teams dropped the ball on the most important thing for these
yeah.
games.
And you're great, but there is some skeletons. I keep noticing like the enemy don't explore. They should stay in that little spawn area. And when Jesse say, "Oh, they come and run back to the area," like, yeah, that like Destiny. I remember that shit. And
Yeah.
what I like is, yeah, the combat is amazing. I use a gun and a sword, so I like to smack people faces. And the moment they look at me, I'm like, "Oh, hey, there's a barrel in your face. Hello." So I should blow their brains off. And then I do love a lot of exploration because I do love you do run around and find stuff like either quests or items that I don't know you guys are collecting totems.
Yeah, I've gotten both the totems from the two first areas. Yeah.
I like that for not only do they give you a bonus buff, they do give you they explain more of the gods discussion they having.
Yes.
But the one thing that I actually did like is I know you guys found these story narrations arts victories of
Yeah,
other
where you
gods.
get they're like little special spots,
Yes. Yeah.
and
I
you're
actually
like living through somebody else's past or something like that.
Hmm.
yeah, another god like you. And I should one thing I love the art, and two I like I say, it's like hearing a story, and you get to decide what happened in one story. Like in one of them, I became a tyrant king, and my entire city died. Like oh fuck. Another one was like two people trying to settle on something, and I decided to kill one of them, and I felt grief. So like they're different stories. You get to choose how it goes that story, and there is some choices that I saw that I do that affect the world a bit, not massive, but a bit at least. Like when a city fell, I told the people who survived, go to this city, you'll be fine, trust me. And then someone told me, we should. There've been reported plagues. Huh? And I start seeing the guy coughing a bit of like a sickness, like so I should cause a genocide in that area by my choices. Like, all right, I should kill all those people with a plague. And the more I play it, the more I play it, I really like it. I think it's a great game. Until the weakest Obsidian. Like this is not
Yeah.
what I was expecting. And like Derek said, the choice and story matter so much, which was I was coming in for.
Yeah, I just don't understand the writing of like some of these recent games where it's like, especially with Baldur's Gate 3 coming out and getting the praise. I understand these games were already in development, but they saw the praise and they saw what it was for. They saw it was for choices, for really well written characters, the freedom that you had, the consequences to your decisions, the weight of those decisions, the anxiety that you should get while you're playing it because you're like, maybe won't be that big of a deal. But then you get in the third act and you're like, holy crap, that thing I did in the first act completely changed my third act or did something that altered it greatly. They were aware of this, and it's like these recent games are like, no, we want to control the story. We want to create an illusion that you guys have choice, but in reality, we're not giving you choice. We're trying to tell a story, which again, if that's your game, that's fine, but that's not what you're advertising. You're advertising an Obsidian RPG, a BioWare RPG, these type of games where we know what their pedigree is, we know what to expect, we have a right to expect that. That's what you sold us on, and I just feel like that's not what we got. And the funny thing is, I talked about it in the chat with Jesse and Rob, is the game director for this game here was a writer for Pillars of Eternity. So I don't think she deserved to be game director, but I'm not going to get into that. Her past she has no right to be a game director, but the fact that you're a writer and you're put in the game director position, which means you're the head of all the decisions. That means you're aware of what the story and the consequences are going to be, and the combat and the world and all that. You make those decisions, and you didn't once go, this doesn't look like what we did with Pillars of Eternity. I don't understand. It sounds like you didn't know what you were doing, or you were just plugged in for some dumb reason.
Now,
Go
if I
ahead.
could answer that one, she came in after they were already crapping the multiplayer, so she couldn't do much. Which she even confirmed, like, yeah, by the time she jumped in, they're like, all right, we already got like the idea of making it single player from the multiplayer, and they already have all written the story. She couldn't do much because she did the DLC of the Outer World, which are fantastic choices driven stories. So like no, hold on, she does know what she's doing. So that right now she got crew over with this project. She got like the worst hand deck.
I
So
mean, they
I
scrapped that though like 5 years ago. So if she took over 5 years ago, I don't know. That might be giving her a little too much leniency. But maybe if she came on a year or two ago, sure. But I think she's been over this project for 5 years. You have to be aware of what's
Say
going
5 years
on.
is a long time.
You have to be aware of what the writing is. I just think she was plugged in. If you look at and I'm not going to get into this because this literally could be a whole show and not everybody's going to agree with my takes on things. But like my thing is a lot of these studios, Obsidian's one of them too. Like we're comparing this game to old Obsidian, which makes sense because the name's Obsidian. But go look at the names that worked on this game compared to the other ones. They're not the same team. Yes, you're always going to have people leave. It's a business. But my point is we all look at this and we go, why is BioWare making bad games? Because it's not BioWare anymore. It's just a name. The people that replaced them were plugged in and they don't have the experience. They don't have the pedigree. They don't know what they're doing for the most part. Sure, they know how to make a game work, but they don't know how to make a BioWare game. I think that's the same thing you're dealing with Obsidian. This person shouldn't have been the game director. We already know some of these art designers running their mouths shouldn't have a say in anything that's going on with this game. There's a lot of like activism in these games, and you're not getting actual game developers. Is my point. Like I said, you could have a big conversation on that. I'm gonna offend people with that, which I really don't care. But my point is that we're comparing against teams that don't exist. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like Obsidian isn't Obsidian. Do I hope that they'll learn from this game? And to be fair, I want to make sure I'm saying this because I don't want to come off negative. The game on Open Critic and Metacritic, because I look at both, is basically an 80. An 8 out of 10 is good. That means most of the reviewers liked it. Now, I did watch a video where I do think, and this is another subject we could go on forever on, that modern reviewers are disconnected from gamers now. So it's like you have Dragon Age fail. I'm gonna call it fail guard because that it really is what it
I
is
call
to
it
me.
trash guard.
It's
It's really
trash
fun.
fail guard.
Very fail.
But that game reviewed really well. We know the conspiracy theory. I think I believe it. I believe they only gave codes to majority people that were going to say this is a great game. So the reviews were a scam. But my point is there's a disconnect between what games media wants games to be for the gamers and what they say is good, and then actual gamers, and I would say a lot of YouTubers, because a lot of YouTubers are, yes, they are making content and they want you to click and like their stuff. They make money off that. But a lot of them are still gamers. And you will get some of them that are like, the game sucks, dude. And they'll complain about the game. And it's justified. So there is a disconnect of what game developers slash activists, games media slash activists want and say is good compared to what gamers are saying. And I've seen more negative from gamers about this game than the Metacritic and OpenCritic even makes sense. Like, if you just went by like what people are saying, I would think this is a 6 out of 10. Not bad. Everybody says it's got good qualities, but it's meh. It's average. Yet an 8 out of 10 is good. And I would say for me in my time and my 15 hours, the score could change. It's about a 7 for me. I enjoy the gameplay, but then I also have that big part of it that I'm like, this is annoying. Like, it's not fun. Then I'm also not really invested in the world, definitely not invested in the characters. And I haven't experienced a decision where I was like, now you hooked me. That choice was huge. It caused relationship issues or it caused consequences. I don't see that with this game. So it's been a disappointment so far, but there's still apparently I've got a lot of the game left. I thought it was 3 major areas. I didn't know there was 5. That's crazy. So I'm going to be in this game for a while. I am going to beat it. It's not a game unless it gets terrible. It's not a game I'm going to quit on. Overall, since we've been semi-negative on it, overall I still think it's more positive than negative, but I do have major issues with it. It's not as good as I was hoping it would be.
Yeah, like I say, yeah, I'd say the weakest one, but it seemed like Last of Us Part Two, the weakest Naughty Dog, but I still have fun. I still think it's a
Hmm.
good game, and the same with Avowed.
It's the
Like I
best.
still
It's
think
the
it's
best
a
Naughty
game.
Dog game. This is why I have to
Uh,
fire you.
from a Naughty Dog that I know is all gone. None of them work
Yeah,
there anymore, so you
that's
know
the
how I
point.
feel.
I miss
That's the
Uncharted, Naughty Dog.
yeah.
But you're fine; they're still there. But for me, Avowed, I think it's a 7 too.
Hmm.
I do agree. I don't. You don't want to talk a lot, but I do agree that there is some activism that shouldn't be in the area.
It's not
Like,
as bad as Dragon Age. Let me make
I
sure I'm
don't think
very
yeah,
it's
clear.
forced in this game like it
I
is in
yeah,
No,
Dragon
no, no,
Age.
no.
not in the game, not in the game, not in the game. I'm not saying the game. I'm saying
Outside the
there's
game.
a
Yeah.
certain art director that should have shut the fuck up. Shut
Yeah.
the fuck up. We are so close to release that you ruined it. But
So dumb.
I wish I was there to talk about Dragon Age, but I didn't bought the game, so I didn't care. But I
You
sure
don't have to
want to
buy it.
say
They're
that
giving it to you for free in a second.
I'm still not gonna play it. All I'm gonna say is you shouldn't force political views in entertainment unless the media is asking for it. And I don't think Dragon Age, a game with fantasy RPG, is a game where you gotta go pull out a.
The
So
sad thing,
I'm.
the sad thing about Dragon Age is that it's always had activism
Hmm.
in it.
Yes,
It's
but
always
done
had
well.
But
LGBTQ
yeah.
characters.
But you
It just
weren't
is
forced
wasn't
to
shoved
like
down
to
your
them.
throat.
Yes. See, the issue was, okay, so the most annoying character in that game was the trans character. Not just because whether you like trans or not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm gonna say objectively, not even subjectively. He was written god awful, annoying, terribly.
Yes.
Okay? So fine. That's your character. You want to write it that way? That's not my issue. My issue is you forced me to have to listen to her, him, whatever the fuck she was, and I couldn't be mean to her. I couldn't kill her. I couldn't rape her. I couldn't do anything to her.
Oh,
I had to act like I liked her. Oh, yeah, I feel bad for your story. I don't feel bad. I kept looking at the options and going, where can I be mean to you? I can't be mean to you. No, I'm just using her to be funny. That's one example. That literally was for the entire game. I couldn't be mean. I'm talking really mean to any of these characters. And then I went and started, I'm about halfway through Dragon Age Origins, and I went back and I'm like, games is super dark, super bloody and gory, and there's huge consequences and terrible things. I murdered a child because I didn't want to go and do a long journey to like rescue him.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna kill this kid and just be done with this mission. And that's not in Dragon Age. That's not in Avowed so far. There is none of that. I know the first time I played Outer Worlds, there's a certain side character, one of your companions, that you can bring with you for the entire game that you meet in the first few hours. I killed him. And he was not in my first playthrough at all. He was in my second playthrough, and I was like, I should have just killed you because you're annoying. But my point is that there's that freedom. These games are very restrictive, and that's what a lot of this modern gaming is. It's we want to tell you our story. We want you to believe and agree in what we want to. I'm cool with politics. You can put whatever politics you want in there. You can put whatever religion you want in there. You can be anti-religion. You can be for religion, but give me the player the freedom and the choice to either reject your religion and your politics, reject your character, or accept them, embrace them. Like, give me all access to do all of it. And you didn't. You said, no, for this character, you have to pretend like you like them. For this town, you have no choice. You just have to follow what's going on in that town or in the story. And that's what I was talking about. It's this illusion of choice and consequences. Baldur's Gate 3 had all of the progressive stuff that people think I'm anti. Had it all in there. Not one time did I ever say Baldur's Gate 3 is a progressive piece of shit. Why? Because it wasn't forced. You could do whatever you wanted to those characters. If I wanted to kill the gay guy, I could kill the gay guy. If I wanted to keep him and romance him, I could romance him. I could do whatever I wanted. And that's the point of these games. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing is when they hear a complaint about these games, they're missing that. They're like, you just hate trans people or you just hate gay people. You just hate this. No, I hate that you're stripping me of my choices and my freedom to enforce your political stance. And that is happening. That's not me making stuff up. It's literally happening. They're hiring activists and all of these developers and publishers instead of creating good games. And you can't tell me it's not causing a hit.
What's sad about Dragon Age, not to go on a rant about a game we weren't even really talking about, is that
we can always talk about it.
The problems with that game are even deeper than that, though, because they didn't even follow already established Dragon Age lore. Like, the city that fancy chick is from, I can't remember her name. That city in the previous games was labeled to be like a massive slaving city. And then you go there in this game, and there's not a lick of that anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely cleansed. It's a completely cleansed game. That's the problem.
Yeah. It did definitely miss the mark. But again, we kind of talked about it. Same thing with Obsidian. It's a whole new cast of characters of people writing these games. And I don't think they're fans of the previous games like you would want them to be. You would want somebody who It's like anytime like Assassin. I'm not saying these are good games or they're written perfectly or anything, but anytime Assassin's Creed creates a game, they're creating a fantasy version of stuff based off real world. And what they'll do is they'll bring in experts on the religion, the politics, and all that stuff to help them write the stories. That's what you should be doing when you're creating a Dragon Age or a Vow game that's based off Pillars of Eternity. You should have experts, subject matter experts that can come in and be like, Nick, you're off on this. What are you doing with these characters? It's sad when you have fans that know more about the game and the stories and the characters and the histories more than the people that are making it. That's where you have this uprise of complaints. Is like it's the same thing. Like I know Star Wars fans are the worst, but that's why they complain. Is they're like, this doesn't even make sense in the universe. You're not even writing the universe correct. This doesn't make sense, and then they'll point out all the flaws. That's the issue. I don't expect perfection, but at least be semi-accurate, and we're not getting that in a lot of modern games. All right, let's move on from that rant because we're at a wind down here. I want to talk about a couple of other games that you guys are playing, some smaller stuff. So we'll start with you, Gaston. Doom 64. You're currently playing that as well?
Yeah,
And
I'm
is this like your
done.
18th time playing this one?
No, this is my second time.
Oh. Oh.
Uh,
And thoughts on it? Sell me on it because
but,
I actually have never played it. I don't think I've ever played it.
so the big reason is I'm hyped for Dark Age, but I kind of stopped playing 2016 Eternal because I was like, let me do 64 because that's set before the Dark Age. So you go to 64 chronology order,
Mm-hmm.
and the ending of that game is you're stuck in hell, and then you go to Dark Age. So that's how I wanted to play it, and then I would play the others. 64 is technically the real Doom 3, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ignore the one that
Doom
says
3.
Doom 3. That one
Doom 3
sucks.
was not that bad.
It's
But are
bad.
you talking like
Right.
story wise? Are you saying that's why ignore it, or you just didn't like the gameplay of Doom 3?
It's
I
a
hate
break.
that.
It's a massive break from
Yeah.
regular Doom. It's a lot like, in my opinion, it's a lot like Eternal. It's not a bad game. It's just a bad Doom game.
Yeah. They were trying to make I played it a little bit, but I didn't play it a lot. It
It's
was
more like a horror game.
darker and more horror
Yeah.
than anything. But again, I didn't get super far into it. I just played it a little bit.
So Doom 64 is originally a Nintendo 64 game. Many people didn't got it because they thought it was a port of one, so they tried to ignore it. But as you play, you realize, oh, yes, it's set after two. It has its own levels. The enemy has a new redesign. And what's funny is that that one also offer a horror theme with the classic gameplay. So while you're playing a game, the soundtrack shot the ominous horror darkness that you're like, the fuck is going on here? And yeah, it played like classic Doom. The only difference is that the enemy has a redesign and the level are more like how do I like graphically improved on the classic Dooms. But it should play like one and two.
Mm-hmm.
So what the re-release offers a 10 extra DLC level that set perfectly Eternal and Dark Ages, like kind of giving you a hint of what's gonna happen next. So that was the reason we're playing 64. I'm like, oh, okay, I like 64, my favorite classic Doom, but also the one that set before Dark Ages just to hype myself up.
Okay. So that makes sense.
Doom
And
2 is the best classic Doom game, definitively.
have no opinion. I played Doom 2 like a little bit. I have no idea how far I got into any of those games. Um, I was more of a Duke Nukem guy,
Oh,
but
Duke Nukem was great too.
yeah, that was the game I remember my brother buying and me being like, "What did he just say? This is so cool." Whereas Doom was just I remember it. I remember it being gory. I remember it being pretty awesome, but I have no idea if I beat it or not. That was when I was younger, and I didn't care back then when I beat games. But I did just buy the BFG Collector's Edition. It's just a small BFG, and it came with all the Doom games. So I have the entire collection on my PS5. That's where I played Eternal. That's why I played it, because I was like, well, I spent $30 on this. Let's see if we can get an Eternal again, and I ended up doing it. So I'll probably check out some of the other ones. I did re-download 2016 after I beat Eternal, and that's where I was like, damn, this is super slow. But again, I'm in the first chapter. I think I've cleared the first chapter. I might be in the second one, but I'm like real early, so I don't know if I don't remember 2016. I just remember beating it, liking it, and rating it pretty high in my top 10, but I don't remember anything about it. I just remember enjoying it. So maybe it does get faster, or you unlock different things to make it seem like it's a faster, quicker paced game. But compared to Eternal, by the time I got to the end of Eternal, I was like, everything's Twitch shooting, super quick. This is more like, huh, enemy there. Oh, an enemy there. It just feels like I'm on a delightful stroll instead of panicking every 5 seconds. Um, Jesse, let's move to your game. Tyranny.
Yeah.
CRPG, right?
Yes, it's a CRPG made by Obsidian.
And where are you playing it? Steam Deck?
Yeah, on the Steam Deck.
Okay.
I've got it docked playing on my TV. It's a really cool game. I have to say, it's very, very cool. It's one of very few games where you actually kind of play from the perspective of the bad guys.
Okay.
So you play as this character called the Fate Binder, and you're basically like an emissary for the dictator who's taken over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sent out into the world to basically like quell the masses. And you end up getting into these big wars between two major factions, and basically you have some influence on how that's going to play out. So it's kind of cool. It seems like you might have a decision where you might be able to like go against your master and maybe side with one of the rebellious sides, or maybe stay with them and just wreck everybody. It's I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I'll probably be about 15 hours into it so far.
Okay, I was gonna ask, is it a super long game, or is
My
it?
understanding it's not super long for the style of game, like maybe 35 to 40 hours.
Okay, that's not that bad for
No,
CRPG.
no, but it was
That's
just it seems really novel being able to play essentially as the bad guys.
nice. And how is it on like choices and stuff like that? Is it old school where you feel like you're experiencing consequences, stuff like we've been talking about all night?
Yeah, so when you start the game, it has this whole opening sequence where you're basically designing the state of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it has you go through this like storybook kind of experience, and you're making decisions, and those decisions you're making affect what the status of the world will be when you actually start the game.
Okay.
And then once you start the game, you have like relationship meters essentially with your companions and with all the various factions that you can improve or decrease. Companions will leave you if they just don't like you. Factions will start sending like executioners and assassins if you're on their bad side, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I feel like your choices and how you affect the world actually matters.
Nice.
But it is older, so it's not going to play like Pillars 2, or certainly not like Baldur's Gate 3. It's certainly dated, but if you can get past that, it's a very fun experience so far.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm gonna end the show just real quickly talking about a couple of games I'm playing, but it'll just be real quick. And then also I do want to ask y'all about one other game, and then we'll shut everything down. Um, I've been really in 2025. I think the games that have been hooking me the most are not really story driven. It's more about like the gameplay and then just getting kind of stuck in their loop and just enjoying them. So I've been really enjoying the Dragon's Dogma games. I went and played Dragon's Dogma 2 for a second time, but it was a first playthrough on the PS5 Pro. So I beat it originally on PC and then beat it on PS5 Pro this year, and then immediately started New Game Plus on Steam, and I'm about a third through the game on New Game Plus. And I did not realize. I mean, it's the same game. Like you're still doing, you're unlocking the areas the same. You're doing the same quest, but there is so much changed in like the world as far as there are just beasts and dragons everywhere. Whereas in the main campaign, when you play it first, they kind of like slowly intro you into the bigger beasts. Like they don't throw everything at you at once. It's like you fight a ogre first. And it's usually like the way they always start it is they give you like a weakened one so you can get the gist of how to fight it. And then you'll run into a normal one a little bit later, and then you'll run into maybe a I forgot what they're called, but like almost like a gorilla beast, where it's like it just jumps around everywhere. It moves faster, but it's about the size of an ogre. And then you get a griffin, and so on. This, like, as soon as I was in the open area, there was a dragon. Like he was coming towards me. He wasn't just out in the world like hanging out and like, hey, as long as you stay away from me. There was a dragon, and then there was griffins everywhere. I've already killed like two or three griffins in the first 10 hours, and I've killed so many ogres, and I'm so OP with me and my team. That's one of the things I love about the Dragon's Dogma games, and I'm going to talk about the other one in a second. They are as easy as you want them to be, or they're really hard without even messing with the difficulty. And what I mean by that is all based off your pawns. So if you play with pawns at your level or lower, the game is very difficult on normal. Like you'll get destroyed a lot of times. But if you have friends who have played the game and they have higher level pawns, you can actually recruit their pawns for free. Because if you haven't played the Dragon's Dogma games, it costs currency to unlock higher level pawns. And a lot of times you don't have that money. Like you usually will have enough money to buy a couple of levels higher than you, but you're not going to have 8 gazillion RC to buy a pawn that's level 500 and you're level 10. But if you have a friend that played and beat the game, and then you come in and play the game, you have access to their pawn right away. So if their pawn's like level 50 and you're just starting the game, you can recruit that level 50 pawn for free. And that makes the game completely easy because that pawn, no matter what their class is, they're going to destroy everything. And so on my new game plus on PC, one of my pawns is like a level 87, and then I'm above 50. My pawn that I created is above 50 because it's the same level as my character. And then another pawn from my friends list is like 7 or 8 levels higher than me, and we're just obliterating everyone. Any beasts that I run into, I kill them in like 2 seconds. And it's not just the higher level pawns doing it, it's my character too. Because I switched classes. I originally played as warrior, and then I switched, and then I forgot the name of the class, but I switched to a different class later in my first playthrough, which was a cool class. But the thief class is considered the most OP, coolest class in Dragon's Dogma 2. So I played that, and I see why now. There's like 2 special moves that can destroy anything like that. So obviously, as I get later in the game, I'm sure it'll get a little bit more difficult, but I'm having a lot of fun playing that game. It's just, I don't have to think. I know the systems. I just play it. And then I decided to start a couple days ago Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen because I haven't played that since I beat it at launch. And I remember that being a really, really difficult game for me. Like I struggled through that until one of my friends was like, I beat the game. You can just use my pawn. And I used this pawn and I was like, oh my God, thank you. I can actually beat things. So I'm playing Dark Arisen. I switched over to PS5. I started on PC, but now I'm on PS5. And I'm playing with pawns around my level. And holy crap, I am dying a lot. And I know the systems. Back when I played originally, I didn't know the systems. I had no idea what was going on. I'm playing it now and I'm getting still destroyed, even though I know the systems. It's a little bit better, but if I wander off too far and I run into something I shouldn't run into, this game is ridiculously difficult. They will wipe you in like one or two hits. But I like the openness of the worlds. I've said this before. I think what I like about these games is it's like Monster Hunter game, but just easier to play. The systems are easier, but it feels like a Lord of the Rings game. Because Monster Hunter is usually like you load into a level and then you just explore that level to kill that one monster. You might run into other ones, but you're really just there for one monster and it's a level. uh Dragon's Dogma is like an open world, and it's just you're on this journey and you go wherever you want. It's not about fast traveling, it's about going from A to B and you actually traveling it and then just running into random beasts, random bandits, random whatever, and then surviving it. So really enjoying those games. So I wanted to share that for those who are listening. If you're at all interested in Dragon's Dogma games, they hold up. Dragon's Dogma 2 obviously holds up better. It's newer, but even Dark Arisen holds up. It plays really well on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X. If you buy I think it's the remaster version. It's like $5 all the time. It's really good. Good game, really good game. And then to end the show, are either one of you at all hyped for Monster Hunter Wilds, or do you not care about that game at all?
I have modest interest. I played the last one was at Worlds.
Yeah.
I played a bit of that one, and they're fun games, but they're not games that I get super hyped on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably a game I'll play at some point, but certainly not day one.
Apparently, this one's closer to Worlds, a little bit easier, but it's more, and I haven't done a lot of research on it. I think it's more open world, whereas Worlds had bigger areas, but it was still level based.
Yeah.
This is apparently supposed to be like legit open world. So I'm pretty excited about that. Plus, it kind of fits into the only reason I wouldn't like it is if I get overwhelmed by the systems. Even though I have a general idea how Monster Hunter games work, they still have a lot of like annoying systems where it's like, what the heck is this? I have no idea what this means. Um, that would be the only thing that turns me off. Other than that, it kind of fits what I was just talking about. I want a game where it's just go out and loot, play something that's fun, loot, level up your character, kind of do that grind, rinse and repeat. That's what Dragon's Dogma is. It's just fun exploring, killing things, and then going back and buying better equipment or creating better equipment or leveling up your equipment. It's just Dragon's Dogma is just a simplified, more arcadey version of Monster Hunter Wilds. So I highly, highly recommend both. But I'm really excited about Wilds. Wilds unlocks in the next hour and a half. I might actually stay up and try it, just see if I like it, like give it a shot tonight, and then play it tomorrow while I'm working. Uh, Gaston, do you care about Monster Hunter games at all, or no?
Let that weeaboo shut off in my face, please.
All right,
Some-
all right, furry boy. All right, furry boy. I mean, there is a cute little cat companion. You
I
sure
don't
you're
care.
not interested?
Don't care about
Is it
Monster
because
Hunters.
it's a pussy? Yeah, you stay away from pussy, don't you? All right. I just had to throw out there a little gay furry joke for you. All right, that's our show. Thank you, Jesse and Gaston, for coming on. I know it didn't sound like it, we all like Avowed. We just have some, I would say, major issues with it, and it's compared to the other games, a little bit of a disappointment. Doom, again, very hard on Doom Eternal. Still a really good game. I don't give it an 8 if I hate it. It's still a good game. I am excited for the new one. It's not a 10. The fact that you played it 7 times. I know
2016 is a 10.
Yes, 2016 is closer to a 10. I won't give it a 10, but who knows? I might play it again and I might like it more, but I have it still downloaded because it fits into that just pick up and play, shoot things. But yeah, overall, I think we like the games that we're playing, but there's some disappointment to it, and that's been kind of the common theme for me personally in the last year playing games. It's like, when are you just gonna release games that are fun? So hopefully Monster Hunter Wilds will be that. But thanks for joining. We'll have these guys on in the future for sure. Definitely with Doom Dark Ages, but maybe even before then. Thank you guys for listening, and I'm not going to tell you to like and subscribe because I really don't care if you're even listening to me right now. Good night. Bye.
Good night.